The sun set over the crimson dust of the savannah, casting long shadows across the great river that separated the kingdoms of Ocean and Zeba. For generations, these two peoples had been locked in a bitter feud over the fertile lands and the ancient salt mines that lay between them. The meeting at the Festival of Rainfall. Every 7 years, a brief truce was called for the great market. It was here, amidst the scent of roasting spices and the rhythmic thrum of talking drums, that Kofi, the youngest prince of Ocean, first saw Zola, the daughter of the Zeba king. Zola moved with the grace of a gazelle, her neck adorned with intricate beadwork that told the history of her ancestors. Kofi, known more for his poetry than his prowess with a spear, felt his heart catch. When their eyes met, the noise of the market faded. The ancient animosity of their fathers felt like a distant, fading echo. A secret vow. They began to meet in the no man's land, a grove of ancient baobab trees that stood as silent witnesses to their forbidden love. The tokens. Kofi gifted Zola a pendant carved from rare ivory wood. The promise. Zola shared secrets of the stars, taught to her by the Zeba shamans. The risk. To be caught meant more than just death, it meant sparking a war that would burn the plains to ash. Our fathers see borders, Kofi whispered one night under a blood-orange moon. But the wind does not stop at the river, and neither does my heart. The gathering storm. The peace was shattered when Zola's father, King Mazi, announced her betrothal to a fierce Zeba general to solidify his military power. Desperate, Kofi and Zola devised a plan to flee south toward the Great Mountains, where a neutral tribe lived in peace. They sought the help of an old herbalist, Mariba, who lived on the edge of the river. She gave them a potion brewed from the blue lotus, not to mimic death, but to induce a trance so deep that the palace guards would believe they had succumbed to the sleeping sickness that occasionally swept the valley. True love is like the baobab, Mariba warned. It grows slowly, but its roots can split the strongest stone. Be careful that the stone does not crush you first. The twist of fate. The plan went awry. The messenger Kofi sent to Zola was intercepted by the ocean border guards. Believing the Zeba had kidnapped his son, the king of Ocean launched a preemptive strike. Kofi arrived at the baobab grove to find it surrounded by soldiers. He saw Zola lying still, the empty vial of the herbalist's potion by her side. In the chaos of the encroaching battle, he believed she had taken her life to avoid the forced marriage. Heartbroken, Kofi refused to fight. He stood before his father's charging army and the Zeba's wall of shields, dropping his spear. A new legacy. Just as the first arrows were notched, Zola awoke from her trance. Seeing Kofi standing unarmed between two armies, she ran to him. The sight of the two lovers, standing together in the center of the battlefield, caused a sudden, heavy silence to fall over the warriors. Instead of a tragic end, the story took a turn of courage. Zola spoke to the two kings, her voice carrying across the silent plains. You fight for land that will outlive you. You fight for salt that the rain washes away. But you destroy the only thing that can bridge our worlds. The kings, moved by the sight of their children's devotion and the exhaustion of decades of war, lowered their weapons. A marriage was sanctioned, not as a secret, but as a treaty. The peace of the baobabs. Today, the grove is no longer no man's land. It is the heart of a unified kingdom. The story of Kofi and Zola is sung by griots across the continent, a reminder that while hate is inherited, love is a choice that can rewrite history. This is the Song of the Painted Horizon, a ballad traditionally performed with the kora, a 21-string harp, to honor the peace brought by the two lovers. The Ballad of the Baobab Heart. Verse 1. The river was a serpent, silver and deep, where the secrets of fathers were buried in sleep. Ocean held the sunrise, Zeba the gold, between them a story of silver and cold. But a spark doesn't ask for a permit to glow, and a seed doesn't ask where the river will flow. Chorus. Oh, sing of the prince with the tongue of a bird, and the daughter whose silence was more than a word. Under the baobab, wide and gray, they traded the night for a brand new day. No spear could pierce what the heart had sown, the king of the dust and the queen of the throne. Verse 2. The drums grew hungry, the shields turned to red. Bring us the daughter, the old generals said. But Kofi stood tall where the dry grasses wave, with a chest full of courage and nothing to save. He dropped his bright iron, he offered his hand, and a hush like the harmattan fell o'er the land. Bridge. They drank of the lotus, they dreamt of the flight, two stars colliding in the belly of night. When Zola awoke and the war smoke cleared, she conquered the demons that both nations feared. Not with a blade, not with a cry, but a love that was written across the wide sky. Chorus. Oh, sing of the prince with the tongue of a bird, and the daughter whose silence was more than a word. Under the baobab, wide and gray, they traded the night for a brand new day. No spear could pierce what the heart had sown, the king of the dust and the queen of the throne. Outro. The river still flows, but the bridges are wide, with an ocean and Ziba walking side by side. Let the griot tell it, let the children know. Where there is love, the green grass will grow. This is the festival of rainfall, which would be a beautiful way to ground and engrave in gold the love story of Kofi and Zola in the vibrant culture of their world. It's the moment everything changed for them, after all. The festival of rainfall, a sensory journey. The air in the great market didn't just carry scents, it carried the pulse of two nations. As the first heavy droplets of the monsoon hit the parched earth, the scent of the rain, that earthy, sweet petrichor, rose up to meet the heat. The sights, the colors, everywhere were the competing aesthetics of the two tribes. The ocean wore flowing robes of indigo and deep sea greens, their skin polished with scented oils. The Ziba arrived in structured garments of ochre and crimson, adorned with hammered copper that caught the flashes of lightning in the distance. The canopy, massive silk cotton trees were draped in hand-dyed banners that snapped in the rising wind. Merchants displayed mountains of translucent salt crystals, piles of sun-dried peppers, and bolts of kente cloth that shimmered like a lizard's back. The sounds, the talking drums, of the ocean engaged in a rhythmic duel with the high-pitched xylophones of the Ziba. It wasn't a song of war, but a complex, polyrhythmic conversation. Underneath it all was the low hum of thousands of voices bargaining, laughing, and chanting the names of ancestors. The moment of contact. Kofi stood by a stall of carved soapstone when the crowd parted. Zola was adjusting a wrap of gold-threaded fabric over her shoulder. For a heartbeat, the torrential downpour began in earnest, turning the dust to clay. While everyone else ran for the shelter of the thatched stalls, Kofi and Zola remained still. The rain ran down their faces, blurring the world around them until there was nothing left but the sight of a stranger, who felt more like home than their own palaces. In that flash of a second, the centuries of border disputes were washed away by a single, shared breath.